So as promised yesterday, we're going to be diving into some of these polls because, of course, I got to tell you guys the real story about what's going on with these upcoming midterms. And we're going to get into a long-standing member of the Democrat Party, a prominent member of the Democrat Party, admitting the quiet part out loud. All right. But before we hop into that, make sure you guys smack that like button. All right. And if you're not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button. And with that being said, let's just jump right on into this first generic ballot poll. And here we have it. Generic congressional ballot. It looks like Republicans are down only 2. This just dropped. Okay. Down only 2 points. Okay. In a time and a place where Democrats or the party out of power is typically up by 6. Not looking good for Democrats. Not looking good. And it's really not looking good when you take in consideration this poll here.
Look at this. Net favorability. Party ahead at this point. Midterm years with the GOP president. In 2018, Dems were up by 12. In 2006 on net favorability, which party you like more? Dems were ahead by 18. Republicans are actually ahead on net favorability at this point by 5 points. So Democrats are just simply put running behind their previous benchmarks, and they need to be running well ahead of them if they want to take back the United States Senate, given that math. To be clear,
2006, they were plus 18. 2018, they were plus 12. In the year of 2026, they are negative 5. Yeah. Yep. That is where we are. And I also want to take you guys over to NBC and a poll that they recently conducted, because there's something quite interesting that they show in this poll, but they really don't talk about a lot. And I found that quite interesting. Check it out.
How realistic is it that Democrats are actually going to be able to retake the Senate? And if so, what is their path in order to do so?
Yeah, Mel, I guess the answer to that question is, how realistic do you think it is for Democrats to win in not 1 but 2 pretty deeply pro-Trump states? That's what they'd have to do to get the Senate. Look at it this way. Here's the big picture map. Democrats need a net gain of 4 seats if they're going to take back the Senate. Now, the first order of business for them is they don't want to lose any ground. They got to protect a couple seats here. The 3 you're thinking of there, it's John Ossoff in Georgia. It's also Democratic-held seats in New Hampshire and Michigan. They don't want to lose any of those. That would only add to the Republican majority and make the Democrats' hill probably too steep. But if they do win those 3, hold on to them, then they still need that net gain of 4 seats, and they'd be looking to do it probably from this list. These are the 6 Republican seats that I think to some degree folks think are going to be in play this year. Now, again, Democrats need 4. You could look at Maine, Susan Collins running in a state that already didn't vote for Trump. That's the most realistic for Democrats. Of course, Collins has survived in some tough conditions before, but that could be one for Democrats. North Carolina, Democrats excited about their candidate there, the former governor, Roy Cooper. Trump only won it by 3 points. That's not unrealistic at all for Democrats. That could be 2, but then draw a line there, because the complexion politically of these states changes. Ohio, Alaska, Iowa, Texas. Democrats hoping to pick up Republican seats here. All of them double-digit states for Donald Trump. These aren't just red states. These are, in the Trump era, these are very red states, certainly in 2024. And in the political atmosphere is just different in red states. Take a look at this. This from sort of a compilation of all of our NBC News, CNBC polling. Our pollsters put this together here. Trump states, that's what we're talking about. Democrats needing to win at least 2 of those Senate races here versus swing states versus Harris states. Views of Donald Trump. In swing states, they're almost 10 points more negative than positive. In Trump states, Trump is above water by 3 points. Views of the Democratic Party, they're not good anywhere. 23 points negative in swing states, but almost 10 points worse than that in red states. Views of the Republican Party, they're not that good anywhere, but they're almost even in these Trump states. So again, if Democrats are going to win back the Senate this year, they got to protect all their seats, but they got to win 2 of this group of 4. They probably have to win 2 of this group of 4 in a much less hostile environment in all the states to Trump than you're going to get in the average swing state now.
And what you see here is also one of the reasons why I said, getting rid of Susan Collins is going to be pretty darn difficult, because of where she's elected in, and that's Maine, the state of Maine. So we might just be stuck with Susan Collins, okay? I know, it's unfortunate. She's basically a Democrat. No kidding. with the way that she votes. But yeah, we're kind of stuck with her. Now, I do want to go back because he just kind of breezed right on through these numbers, and I want to highlight a couple of things. So while he's highlighting that the view of Trump is -8 in swing states, he kind of just breezed by the fact that the view of Democrats in these same swing states is -23. Yeah, more than double worse than the view of Trump. So how is that going to work? Absolutely, completely underwater in these swing states. And then when you talk about the GOP, they're still even worse off than, the GOP. So how do you plan on flipping anything? I mean, let's say that they have the numbers correctly, which I don't think that they do in swing states. I don't think Trump is -8, right? We've always seen that the polls are wrong, right? You guys remember the Iowa poll, the famous Iowa poll. Oh my goodness, Trump's going to lose Iowa to Kamala. Yay! And we saw how that turned out, and so, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt, right? Trump's -8, but Democrats are -23 points. Like, how do you swing that? You can't. You absolutely can't. And even if you just want to go GOP versus Dems, the GOP is still in a better position. So, and I mean, even if you want to look at states that Kamala won, right? The view of Trump and the view, geez, I can't talk. I'm sounding like Joe Biden over here. The view of Trump and the view of the GOP, yeah, they're in the 30s, but the view of their own party is -15 still. Now, these states don't really matter, right? Because we're talking about swing states and Trump-held states. So these are the numbers that actually matter, and these spell doom for the Democrat Party right here. So not looking good, And when you take a deeper dive into things, it's really not looking good, because I think the Democrat Party sees that the writing is on the wall, and so you see a lot of scrambling going on. And I kind of touched on this a little bit yesterday. This from Axios: Dem leaders and would-be leaders have shifted their views on border security, DEI, crime, climate change, COVID-era lockdowns, and more, all with an eye on this year's midterms and the 2028 presidential election. So even internally, they see the writing on the wall, because if nothing was going on internally, if they were confident internally, they wouldn't be trying to shift, right, to change their views right before the midterms. They would just go along with what they've always done. Here's a bit more news coming out from the Democrat Party. News: Warren, Smith, and Murphy are part of a fight club group of progressive senators frustrated with Schumer's midterm strategy, accusing him of favoring centrist over outsider candidates. They've used a private signal chat to coordinate pushback. So you have the bad polling. You've got some Democrats trying to shift their speech, right, and things that they say they believe in. And then you also have this internal struggle, this internal fighting, this internal push back and forth from the far left and the establishment. The establishment wants to move back towards the middle, as you just heard there with Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer wants to move the party back towards the center, while you got a lot of other folks within the Democrat Party that are like, no, we want to keep pushing this thing further left. We ain't far enough yet. And so you have this fracturing of the Democrat Party. Now, I want to end off this video with this clip here from Rahm Emanuel. And if you aren't familiar with who Rahm Emanuel is, he was Obama's chief of staff and the Clintons' political director. So this is a guy he's in the knows, right? He's been in the midst of things. I want you to take a listen to what he has to say about the Democrat Party and where they are today.
We lost the plot. We as Democrats nationally from Latinx to defunding the police to police organizations are all racist to bringing a set of cultural wars to our schools. We are on the losing side of those cultural wars. Full stop. You are worried about bathroom access and locker room access. Why don't you focus on classroom excellence? You have 50% of our kids not reading at grade level.
Well, they can just say we can do both.
You've proven you can't, because you've permitted a 30-year low in reading and math scores, and nobody seems to be calling the whistle on this. We lost the plot.
Why?
Because the party got unanchored. Every one of our most successful electoral presidents anchored themselves in what I call middle-class values and values that are universal, at least in this country, ascribed to. We went from acceptance to advocacy. Big difference. And I'll just take one on that I shouldn't. So here goes. I remember fighting for Title IX. The reason we are champions in women's sports in the Olympics and soccer, hockey, etc., is Title IX. Why would you undercut the premise of Title IX with the ability of trans men playing in women's sports? To me, it's insane.
It's baffling.
You're undermining one of the great accomplishments we as a country, but also spearheaded by the Democratic Party, Title IX. And we're undercutting it.
From a party insider himself, we've lost the plot when speaking about the Democrat Party. We've lost the plot. I think that says everything you need to know. Now, of course, all of this means a hill of beans if we don't show up in the midterms and do what we're supposed to do, right? And vote. So, yes, this is all encouraging. And that was the whole purpose of this, because you're going to get bombarded with a bunch of doom and gloom, and it's over for the Republican Party. Democrats are going to take over. You know, you guys have seen it before. You guys have seen it and heard it all before, right? But before you hear all of that, I wanted to give you the actual facts, okay? The real news, because the fake news is going to be hitting you very, very soon if it hasn't hit you already. All right, now, get prepared. We got a lot of voting to do in these midterms. We got some people to vote out. We got John Cornyn. I believe his runoff is it next month? I believe it's next month. So if you live in the great state of Texas, make sure you participate. Ken Paxton is the way to go. John Cornyn, the Rhino, must go. Where else? Kentucky, right? Mitch McConnell is stepping down, so we got to make sure that he is replaced with an America First Republican. I need to look back at some of these dates on these races so I can talk about those in other videos as well. But anyway, yeah, prepare yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. We got a lot of work to do, but it can get done, and we can come out on top still, which is saying a lot. It's saying a lot, considering we should not be in this position based on historical precedents. So anyway, y'all stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.